be, or they look like us, or that we believe we could tap into some aspect of what it is that they are, they stand for, or that they're doing. I understand it makes it hard, and I've learned a lot about how that manifests. I think it's true across a variety of spectra, and the way that I like to prescribe a solution here is this person someone that is, then it sounds to me like the mentors that you're choosing, and I'm putting those in air quotes just in case they are default and you're not really choosing them. And those mentors, I think you might want to get some different mentors, because the mentors that I looked to did not confirm all of the biases in the industry. Now, I'm going to tell you another little expanded story. That is actually part of what helped me understand what I could become. Is when I looked at the photo industry, I did not see anyone sharing information. I did not see anyone who was willing to reveal their secrets, their trade secrets, and build community around those shared holes in our knowledge. So I used to do all of those things. I did, I told you the story about standing in front of the magazine rack, but what I didn't see is anyone talking about all the hard stuff, all the shoots that sucked and where they missed and where. So that was in deconstructing, analyzing, and repeating, or emulating, analyzing, repeating. I was emulating the things that were working, but I also used it as an opportunity to say, okay, I'm pretty familiar with the marketplace. I've been doing this research for a long time, and there's a gap. You start to understand where the gaps are, and whether this is a gap in mentorship, or a gap in opportunity for a business, or a gap in opportunity for your art, or to say what you want to say. You can then start to exploit, and I use that word in the positive sense, as in take advantage of, make use of those opportunities. So the shortest version I can give you, Audrey, is try and get some other mentors who are actually living the thing that you find is needed. And if you're telling me they're not out there, I think you're not looking hard enough, because I think if you can look at it, like there is a community on the internet that paints portraits of dead presidents and sells them on Tuesday for $100 grand. There is a face. There might just be 12 people in the world, that 7 billion people that do that, but there's a community out there. So I encourage you to look a little harder. And then thing two, reality is you're not going to find a mentor who does exactly what you want. And that's the magic. That's where you get to put your imprint on that. And if the mentor serves 2/3 of your needs, and that what they don't serve or fulfill in you is this positive, like, hey, you don't have to have 30 years of experience, you can start doing this tomorrow, then that's a great thing for you to experiment with. I loved, like, let me give you one other example, and I like to use my own experiences because it's something I can speak as absolutely honestly and without projecting onto others. So my experience was, every person, every photographer, when I talk to them about how to become a professional, included in the prescription to work for another photographer, assist other photographers. I do not think that is bad advice. I think that is actually good advice, because you get to be around it. My dumbass didn't do that. I never assisted for a single day in my life as a photographer. Extremely rare, extraordinarily rare. But that ended up being my own path. Right. And so this is where I think you, as a mentor, when you look at mentors out there, no mentor is going to build the entire picture. There's always going to be some that is mute, it's gray, it's blurry, it's fuzzy. That is an opportunity for you to dive into that area, explore it. And so when everyone said that I had to do that, I was like, okay, great. That sounds slower than I would want to do this. And so that was the way that I was able to, I guess, become the mentor that I never had. And, I'm not telling people that they have to be an assistant. I'm saying now is a time where the gatekeepers are more invisible and removed than ever before. So hell with it, I'm going to go for it. Now, long answer, but again, I think the the multifaceted aspect of your question, that you're doing the prescription, you're deering it, DEAR, you're seeking mentorship, you're not seeing the things you want in the world. It's a complex problem that has a very simple solution. At the heart of it is action, right? Action over intellect. I said that lots of times in the book. And I hope that you're 30% further along than you were before you walked in. Any follow-up questions real quick, Audrey, before we move on?
No, that's great. Thank you so much. Super helpful.
Who's on fire today, you guys? Nice one, Audrey. Go get them.
Thanks so much, Chase.
Happy to do it. Happy to do it. Brings me so much joy. I can't even tell you.
Great. Good to see you. Likewise.
All right. A lot of people raising their hands. Let's go back. Okay. Sorry, it's so hard when literally everyone raised their hand. So I couldn't tell if, let's go with Happy Man France. Hi, Happy Man France. Good morning, or I'm guessing if you're actually in France, it is probably well into the evening. Are you unmuted? We got to get Happy Man France unmuted here. No, so I'm still looking at the, I have the wrong page up so I can't click on them myself. I need you to do that.
Okay, I'm unmuted now.
Hello.
Okay. And
Franco. The text was so small. The text was so small. Now I see the Franco part.
Just like the spaghetti. Well, I have one comment and one question.
Great.
And the comment is, earlier this morning, I was watching your creative calling class on Creative Live. And during the first one, a guy named Josh got up. Okay. And he had said that he had made a mission statement, and that had helped him a lot. And then you went into core values and how those two things can help you find out what your calling really is. And I thought that was spectacular. It really
Thank you. Well. It's a great framework.
My question is, I'm stuck between a starter and a noodler. Okay. I can start a project. I love nature, so I do landscape, flowers with macros. I don't do people, and I don't do people basically because I think I'm a perfectionist and I know I won't get it right, so I shy away from doing people.
Okay.
But what I find is I belong to the 52 frames on the web, and I look at the photos and I submit mine, and I find out how much better everybody else's photo is except mine, and I try to learn their things. So I'm spinning in circles, if you know what I mean.
I do. What is your ultimate goal? What is your ultimate aspiration?
To master the landscape and flowers. And
okay. When you say master it, do you want to sell them, or you just want to take them and put them in a drawer? Do you want to display them, or you want to sell them?
I want to sell them. What I did before we came out here was I would print my photos, put them on a wood board, Mod Podge them, and then my plan is to go back, when I go back to Maryland, is to sell them at craft shows.
Okay, cool. Notice the difference between when I ask what's your ultimate goal and then what you just told me. You talked about mastery. And then when I said, no, that okay, so once you've mastered something and you put all these photos in the drawer and you don't show them to anybody, you don't talk about it, that got you to something that was slightly different, which is no, I actually want to make money from my craft. And so I think inherent in that, and we all have something to learn from you, so thank you for volunteering again, Happy Man, is be really clear about your goals. Because right now, the spinning part for you is you are working on your craft, you compare your work to others, and then you go back to working on your craft and you compare your work to others, and you go back to working on your craft and you compare your work to others with, what if you actually priced something appropriate, you took your best work and you went to a fair tomorrow? Could you sell something for $10? Could you sell something for $100?
Definitely.
Okay. And if your real goal is to be selling photographs for a living, part of that is selling. And why you are a starter and a neutral, you are doing the imagining and designing, and then you're going back to imagine, and then you're designing, and you're going back to imagine. It's like, my craft could be a little bit better. I posted my photos, nobody liked them. My craft could be a little bit better. When your real goal is to make a plan to take a photograph, mount it, design to imagine yourself as selling photographs for a living. The first step is in that process to sell a photograph. So this is the I. I'm imagining myself doing this. How does one do that? What would the plan look like? Well, it would be to take a lot of photographs and then look at those 1,000 photographs and print my favorite 10, and then take those 10 to a fair, any fair, price them not to make me rich, but to actually transact and get used to that. So then you go execute that plan. And the whole time you're doing it, you're handing out business cards. You're telling people in your 52 frames group that you've got a show. You are passing out business cards at the fair or wherever it is you want to see it. You're executing this plan, and notice you're amplifying. You're talking to a lot of other people. And I want to give you a shout out for volunteering your story here. Thank you. This is a great example of building community. And if you did that tomorrow, I bet of the 1,000 photographs you have, and you printed 10 and you took 10 to a craft fair and sold them for $10 each, mounted on wood or whatever, might even be break even, might even lose money. You would actually recognize, you're like, damn, I just did my thing. I thought I was so far away from my goal. And right under my nose were the 10 photographs that someone would pay $10 for. And once you've completed that entire IDEA, this is a beautiful example of what I started earlier in the broadcast with ID and EAs, not completing the whole thing. And notice you couldn't do that because my original question to you is, what do you want to do? You're like, I want to master it. The concept of mastery is just about craft and perfection versus selling something, which is we find out if we push just one layer deeper. That's why being real with what we want in the world about imagining a solution is actually a super critical piece of the puzzle that we often zoom right over because we say, I kind of want to be good-ish with the camera-ish and sell some photos. And no. Laser focus. And once you've done the laser focus and you walk through all 4 of those steps of the process and you complete that process and you're looking around and going, damn, I did it. And maybe you only did it once, and maybe you only did it for $10. Once you've done it once, it's repeatable. Right. I'm that example with $500 and a free pair of skis. I sold the photograph, and it was like I could die and go to heaven at that point. And then all I did was do the same thing again. What did I do? What part of that worked? What was the hard part? What would I change if I had to do over again? And repeated. And then my next sale, I did the same. And my next sale was the same. And with every sale, I could then walk into when I approached the merchandising manager at RAI and said, notice the photos on the wall. I've got a portfolio full of these images. I would love to show them to you. And she said, okay, well, what else have you done? Like, oh, I've licensed some images to some ski companies. Most of the work that I do is outdoors. Instant credibility because I'd actually done the thing once. Go back to Ada Luis's point or any of the other guests that we've had on before. Like once you've done it once and you've built a little confidence and you can actually share that, that's what people want to hear, that you've done the work before. Photographers rarely get hired for work they haven't done. Right. And the same is true across any creative. If you haven't built a house, how many homeowners are going to hire you to build your next house? Right. So you need to find a way. And that first one is the hardest, which is why I'm trying to get you a win. So I'm guessing if you want to do a little bit more work on your portfolio, fine. If you feel like you got 1 or 2 heaters out of the 10,000 photos that you take, print those, go to the fair that you aspire to sell at in Maryland, sell a picture. And if you don't sell one and you sit there for 4 weekends in a row, you're going to be talking to a lot of people. You're going to be amplifying. Yeah. You're going to be learning what is the gap between your pictures and what people actually want to pay for. Copy that, Franco?
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I'm very happy. I'm excited for you. And I see you just turned 70, right?
Yes, I did. And I'm retired, so I can do this.
Nice one. I love hearing it. Congratulations. Let's give a shout out to Happy Man Franco.
Thank you.
Word up. Okay. I'm going to shift gears here, take a peek at all of the different feeds we've got going on right there. Cool comment here from Diane. Mentors are fine, but reminder, you control your own learning curve. This is true. So many of us have a, lean on our mentors to give us the answers. This is the cool thing about deciding what you actually want to do, despite it you being embarrassed or ashamed or weirded out by actually saying that you want to do something that the world might not approve of. When you actually start doing that thing, learning takes on a whole nother meaning, because hungering and acquiring knowledge actually becomes a huge benefit. It's a huge win if you learn a skill and you're like, dang, I can do that now, versus pushing a rock up a hill, which is what learning always felt like to me in school. And as soon as I started saying, no, I want to learn photography, I would like be the dude at the library where the librarian would have to come up and say, the library's been closed for like 20 minutes. I want to go home. Are you going to check out the book? Or that's what learning feels like when you're actually learning things that you want to be doing. So be honest with yourself. Great reminder from Diane. Harriet just says, I just realized how much she's downplayed her own success. I think that is a wonderful takeaway. You have successes in the world, even if they're small, and you have achieved a couple of things in the area that you are interested in, even if they're small. The mindset shift to finding what is positive rather than engaging our negativity bias, our crocodile brain, the well-worn neurological pathways that tell us that we're not enough. Recognizing the positivity, the things that you have actually accomplished is so valuable. Thanks for reminding me of that, Harriet. I'm going to take a question from Diane, and she says, I've enjoyed your I think it's a question. No, it's just a comment. So thank you, Diane. It was a long comment. I needed to read it. I thought for sure it was a question buried in there. All right. Thank you. And Denise, hey, happy man Franco. Denise Yields wants you to know that she wishes you a happy 70th. Congrats. Okay, back to Zoom. Where you at? Raised hands. Lauren Kelly was first. Lauren Kelsey, rather, was first. I know you've already asked a question on this show before. I remember. Nice to have you back. You were like lightning. It was like this. It was just. I don't always reward speed, but thanks for being on the show, and welcome again. Excited to hear your question.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I hope it's a good question and that other people can relate. But when I read the book and listened to the book, one of those things that I really related to was your story about, which you mentioned a little bit today as well, about kind of jumping the line or progressing really quickly and bypassing people or going outside of the
norms,
track that the old school or older generation thought that you should be following. And I've really been doing that in my work. I'm the one that works in film that we talked a couple weeks ago. And I've jumped up the ladder like exceptionally fast. And I've just gotten a new gig that's even higher and higher. And I feel really concerned because I get it a lot from the older generation that I'm like ambitious as in like a negative way. And that I have trouble surrounding myself with people that are super supportive of me kind of going my own way, but I can't always choose because I'm working in a film production situation. So I can't surround myself always with super supportive people. And I wondered if you had any advice of how to sort of deal with the haters or the negative people.
I do. First, allow me to, well, thank you for sharing your challenge. First, let me make a light wispy joke. Sounds like you're in Canada.
Yes.
Canada and ambition. Like, I don't know. So y'all are very, I'm just kidding. I love Canada's one of my favorite places on the planet. And of course, Canadians are known for their humility. So jokes aside, you will always get pressure from outside. And go back to this negativity bias that we're wired to pay attention to. If we get 100 positive comments and 3 negative ones, everyone over indexes on the negative ones. And that's natural. So what you need to do in a case, I'll just take the most simple version of the comments, is to, if you have chosen to read them, just recognize that you are likely never going to be criticized by people who are more imaginative or who've actually done the hard work. Where you will be criticized is people by whom have not, or are you're either growing or you're dying, and these people are probably on a downward descent. So if you look at the source of those criticisms, or in Brene Brown's terminology, if they are not, or Roosevelt rather, if they are not in the arena, then it's your duty to get good at what to pay attention to and what not to. Now, if these people are people that you generally respect and they are, providing you with their opinion, analyzing their opinion for the value that you can extract from it is important. Or maybe there's an opportunity in there. But conditioning yourself to, by and large, continue to listen to your gut and focus on the things that are out there in the world that you want, and people that are out there in the world that are setting an example that you choose to follow, conditioning yourself to orient around that and not the other thing is a very important job. If you ask the writer Elizabeth Gilbert what her job is, she says her job is her mental health. She's a writer. Second to that, her number one job is taking care of her head and her heart. And whether that feels squishy to you or not, it is required, especially if you are, you know what? It's not, I'm not even going to qualify it. It is required. Full stop. So in the case of doing things that are out of the norm, and I try and turn to my own experience, because in almost a Buddhist way, like all we truly have is our own experience. And I can project and guess about a lot of other people, but I'll tell you, I had the same exact thing happen because I never assisted for another photographer for a day, because I went from zero to, making money as a photographer extraordinarily quickly. There's often opportunities for those who decide that following the prescribed path isn't as valuable. For me, I had a benefit, which is I was just ignorant. It's not like I chose to do this other thing. I didn't know how to do it until well after I had already done it. And it's sort of like there's bliss in ignorance. And yet, if I looked on any photographic forums early on in my work where I was building community, the reviews would be mixed. It was a very, very mixed bag. If you can condition your mindset not to get pulled down by those who are the haters, and if you can orient your mindset around people who inspire and encourage, this occasionally ends up meaning you need a different set of friends. And that's part of what's hard. You if you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and 4 of those are telling you that you're not doing it right, getting a new set of friends, even if that set of friends is in a different industry, could be valuable. And that's not to say you don't want to have connections to your industry. You don't want to remain sort of connected to or a part of that community, but orienting around, the 5 people who you spend the most time with, keeping them in the positive camp is I think very, very important. Remember, Brene Brown makes a list of people that she actually wants to make sure that she is in line with their opinion of her. And then that list, I think she says it has 5 people on it. That's a very small list. And, like in internet language, checks list, not on list, don't care about you. Like, not don't care about your opinion, or care, like in the lightweight sense, I might care about you as another human being, but I don't care about your opinion of me. So this doesn't happen by accident. This, like so many other things in our world or in our human conditioning, is something that it's a muscle that we develop. So practicing that muscle. And when I get negative feedback, or when I get things that want to check my ambition, checks list, not on list. Thank you for your opinion. Next. So one other related bit, which is two thoughts. And this is, I don't really have a crisp delivery on this, so bear with me for a second. But what I'm feeling is that people who, and I'm trying to rely on my own experience here. I used that as a talking point when I talked to others or the people that were in my innermost circle as a, I didn't realize it at first, but it acted as a little bit of an anchor because it became a talk track for me that I went to. I'm growing quickly in my industry. I blah, 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 but all these folks. And what I realized at some point was in articulating that. Now this is, I want to be very careful because I want to reward you for bringing this up, but I want you to put a pin in this, and I do not want you to, I want you to move beyond it, because I found that it became a default talk track for me, that I was being held down by these other people. And once you start to say that more than 1 or 3 or 5 times, it's a talk track. And that talk track ends up acting as an anchor. And again, I apologize for this not being very eloquent, but I think you're picking up what I'm putting down. Because I also remember that you said this a couple of weeks ago. There wasn't the whole thing, but it was a piece of that shared a similar sentiment. So I can't make this assumption because we've only talked twice. But if this is true for you, that you said this more than 5 times and it's not serving you, I need you to put it down. And anytime you end up in that talk track, say these words to yourself. That's not like me to use that framework. Next time I'm going to, and whatever the behavior you want, that's not like me to use this thing. It's not serving me. Next time I'm going to find 5 people that I really respect and admire and don't check my ambition, or that support my goals. I like to put it in the positive. It's a very simple phrase that I learned from a sports psychologist when I was 15 years old. If I made a bad pass in a soccer game, rather than saying, "Oh God, you're just like, that's not like me. Next time I'm going to hit him right on the run," or whatever the thing is. It was just automatic. And it began to rewire, like your brain is plastic, right? Your brain is moldable. These default neural networks, we end up in a rut, and this rut is a talk track. How many people find yourself at a party saying the same thing you said at the last party over and over again about your profession, about your skills, about your vision, about who you are, about what you do? We are creatures of habit. That makes it comfortable for us. We don't have to think. And all of those things, if again, going back to, and I acknowledge Buddhism, not because I'm Buddhist, because I think it's very, very useful. It's about presence. Buddhism is about presence, being in the present moment. And the minute you're in the past, or the minute you're projecting into the future, you're not right now. All those things are forms of suffering. Mm-hmm. The story that you told yourself about your coworker not supporting your ambition, that is you suffering. And again, pain in this life, completely not optional. Everyone will have pain. Suffering, that is beating yourself up about a thing, telling yourself a narrative, holding yourself back, all that's optional. Because if you're truly living in the moment, you can't do those other things. Mm-hmm. So, Vito, we good? Lauren?
Yeah, we're great. It makes a lot of sense. I think letting go of it all it can be a challenge not to replay it. I don't think it's a story I say out loud to other people very often. I ask you because I feel like you've been through a very similar thing, but I've 100%. Definitely been replaying what people have said to me in the past few years, people that I admire in some form of my career. And it's time to let it go, I guess, but it's a hard one.
it is a hard one. And when you hang up, you're going to go, great, I got my path, but it's not easy. Remember, simple, not easy.
Yeah.
Very, very simple. I'm saying that script doesn't serve you. Let it go. And how you let it go is by using that little mantra. And by actually directing your thoughts to something that serves you, or a community that serves you, or people that serve you, or a vision for your own precious life that serves you, whatever the fact is. And I want to say, I'm not suggesting that you verbalize this,
Sure.
because remember, the most important words in the world are the ones that we say to ourselves. So even if there are things that I'm just pointing to all y'all on the screen here, even if you don't verbalize them, but you think them, that's every bit as potentially harmful. Now, thinking it and verbalizing it and getting stuck in that talk track, that's doubly hard, because you're thinking it and you're doing it. And so you've got the corresponding action, which is continuing to wire your neural network. And again, I don't want to get too much into neuroscience here, because on the most simple and surface level, this is just about, again, the words you use. Language is very important. And if something's not serving you, you need to choose different words. And if a thought's not serving you, you need to be able to direct this organ. It works for you. You do not work for it. Your thoughts are not you. If you meditate, you actually get good at looking at your thoughts. My goal in meditation is to not think. My goal is to focus on a mantra. And I meditated this morning. I'm 10 seconds into my meditation. Thought comes around. Oh, geez, I wonder where my mini USB cord is. Not even kidding. This actually happened. And then I'm like, oh, this is not time to think about my mini USB cord. This is time to focus on the mantra. Thought, not chase. Thought goes by. See you later, thought. Mantra, mantra, mantra. Oh my God. Am I going to have time to eat before the broadcast? Not serving me. My goal is the mantra. Thought goes by. Notice I am not my thoughts. You can either be in the waterfall or you can look at the waterfall. This is why again, this is I'm getting, like, some of you are like